Hello and welcome to this edition of Central Point. This one's on oligopoly or duopoly. They behave relatively the same, so I'm just going to cover oligopoly on this. So imagine we're going to start this one a little different. Imagine you own an oligopolistic firm, and that means you face very few competitors. We're going to assume only two in this case, right? If you had two total, you and one other, that would be a duopoly. But there's three here, you and two others. And you set the price for whatever good it is that you make at $300. And at $300, you hit the demand curve, which is not listed on here yet, at 3 units. So at $300, 3 units are demanded. Now you're considering a price increase. You can't talk to any other firms about this. That'd be collusion and that's illegal, but you're thinking about increasing price to $350. So one day you decide to do that. Well, of course, your competitors, there's only two of them, they're going to watch you do that and they're going to leave you out to dry and not raise prices. And when that happens, your quantity demand is going to drop from 3 to 0. Think about airline prices. A good example of oligopoly. You got American, United, and Delta. If all of them are charging $300 for a trip to Disney World and then all of a sudden Delta decided to go up to $350, would you fly Delta? Of course not. You'd switch to one of the other two, as would everybody else, and quantity demand would drop to 0. So that gives us a very elastic part of the demand curve above the price. When you increase prices, other competitors, and there's only two of them in this case, they don't follow you, they don't match, they leave you out to dry on that, and then customers move away from you since your price is so much higher. That gives us that very elastic demand curve. On the other direction, however, let's say you lowered price a lot from $300 to $150. Now these other competitors, which are definitely watching you, would have to match you. If you drop that far, you'd take all their customers. So everybody would drop to $150 in this case. They would match you, and then at the lower price, yes, your quantity demand would increase, but so would theirs. You'd just be sharing a bigger pool. So the slope in the demand curve would be much steeper. They would match you on price drops, and therefore the demand curve would be steeper or much more inelastic. So the demand curve is bent, or what we call kinked, right at the prevailing price right now. If you go up in price, it's elastic as firms don't match you, and if you go down in price, it's more inelastic as firms do match you. So that gives us that kinked demand curve. That's, to me, the most distinguishing characteristic of oligopoly, or certainly one of them, is it has this kinked demand curve. Another way to look at this kink demand curve is it's actually two demand curves. Here's the do not match demand curve, right? They leave you out to dry here, so you use this part of the demand curve if you increase prices, $300 being the prevailing price. And if you lower prices, this is the do match demand curve. So they go on up here and out here, but we don't need these parts, at least not for this central point video. We just use this part, and those two come together to form that one demand curve, which is kinked in the middle. Once you have an understanding of that, the rest of it I think is going to make a lot of sense to you. You need a marginal revenue curve. That's a little bit different too. It's got this weird shape to it. For this part of the demand curve, we use this marginal revenue curve. And then for this part of the demand curve, we use this marginal revenue curve. And then we just connect those with this straight line. So there's your funky looking marginal revenue curve. And then we get a normal looking J-shaped marginal cost curve, and we get a U-shaped average total cost curve, and then everything else is pretty straightforward from here. You use the rule of MR equals MC to find out your profit maximizing rate of output. That's that point right there. This firm would produce 3 units. So question number 1 on the test might be how many units can you produce? That's going to be 3. What price are you going to charge? That's question number 2. Go up to the demand curve. In this case, maybe it's $290, or I think I used $300 as my example before. So what price are you going to charge? $290. How much money are you going to make? Find out where this dotted line cuts into the ATC. That's right here. It costs you $175 each. That means you get to keep $115 per unit. That gives you this profit box. You keep $115 per unit. That's the height of that profit box, and you get to do that 3 times, and then that gives you 115 times 3, so this economic profit would be $345. So what's a distinguishing feature of oligopoly is this. You got this do not match. If you increase prices, other firms are going to leave you out there and let you suffer because of that. And if you lower prices, they're going to come with you. So people know that operate in oligopolistic industries. They know if I increase price, then I'm going to lose customers, and if I lower price, everybody's just going to come with me. So that makes a lot of price stability in this industry. Everybody's afraid to change prices. These are not two good outcomes. Raising prices, if I think I'm going to make more money, I actually lose money because everybody leaves me. And if I lower money, well, everybody comes with me, and therefore my customers pay a lower price, but no one's making any more profit. So generally what we see over time is that prices may wobble around a little bit, but they generally stay stable, pretty flat there. So no one wants to start what's called a price war. They leave prices generally alone. That's another key feature of oligopoly.